Under a blazing Texas sun, Caleb Ward stares in disbelief as a steel fence cages his ranch. A padlock bars his gate, branded Pineview HOA, while Victor Hensley smirks from his stolen empire. Why is Caleb locked out of his own home, branded a trespasser? What dark secrets does Pineview bury beneath their polished schemes? As Caleb grips a hidden key, a battle over oil and power is about to erupt. Dive into this gripping saga of justice and betrayal. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories that expose greed and ignite change. The Texas sun dipped low, casting a fiery glow across the rolling hills outside Austin, where Caleb Ward, a 39-year-old retired firefighter, stood on the creaking porch of his 40-acre ranch, his boots scuffing against weathered wood. His calloused hands gripped a chipped coffee mug, steam curling into the crisp evening air, the kind of quiet he'd fought for after years dragging folks from burning buildings. This land was his sanctuary. Horses snorted softly under sprawling live oaks, peach trees sagged with ripe fruit, and the only sound was the mockingbird's evening song. For 2 years, it was his slice of heaven, a place where the world's noise couldn't reach. But trouble had a way of finding peace, and it arrived with the roar of bulldozers carving up the neighboring fields into Pineview Estates, a glossy subdivision of cookie-cutter mansions that gleamed like they belonged in a magazine, not next to his dusty barn. At first, Caleb shrugged it off. His land was free, his title ironclad, bought with every penny he'd saved. Then the letters started. Crisp envelopes with Pineview HOA's embossed seal, demanding he repaint his barn, incompatible with community elegance, and move his tractor out of sight. Community, Caleb muttered, tossing the latest letter onto a pile in his kitchen drawer. They ain't my people. The letters grew bolder, citing visual harmony violations for his barbed wire fence. He burned one in his fire pit, watching the paper curl into ash, his jaw tight. Then came Victor Hensley, Pineview's enforcer, a wiry man with a clipboard and a smile sharper than a rattler's fangs. He showed up one sweltering afternoon, standing on Caleb's porch like he owned it. "Mr. Ward, we're crafting a refined aesthetic for Pineview," Victor said, his voice slick as oil. "Your ranch, it stands out, and not in a good way." Caleb tipped his cowboy hat, his eyes narrowing, his voice dry as the dirt underfoot. "Standin' out's free, Hensley. You want my land to match your McMansions, you buy it." Victor's grin didn't falter, but his eyes glinted with something cold. "We're just asking for cooperation, Caleb. This development's bringing value to the area. Don't you want to be part of that?" Caleb leaned forward, his voice low, a spark of defiance in his tone. "I didn't sign up for your club, and my land ain't your canvas. Take your clipboard and go." Victor's smile twitched, his fingers tightening on his pen. "We'll find a way to work together, Mr. Ward. Pineview always does." He turned, his loafers crunching gravel, but Caleb caught the glance Victor shot at his barn, like a hunter sizing up prey. Days later, Caleb spotted surveyor stakes glinting along his fence line, their neon flags fluttering like warnings in the dusk. He drove to the county clerk's office, his truck rattling, and found Earl, a grizzled clerk with a chew-stained beard behind the counter. "HOAs like Pineview don't play nice, son," Earl said, sliding Caleb's deed across the desk. "They'll poke and prod till you break. Checked your boundaries lately?" Caleb's fingers traced the map, his voice steady. "All legal, Earl, every inch." Earl leaned closer, his voice a rasp. "Legal don't stop greed. I heard whispers they're buying up slivers round your land. Watch your gate." Caleb's gut twisted, his eyes darkening. "They're circling me, ain't they?" Earl nodded, his tone grim. "Like vultures. Keep your title close." That night, Caleb sat on his porch, Ranger, his hound, at his feet, the stars sharp above. He cleaned his old service pistol, the metal cool in his hands, not because he wanted a fight, but because he sensed one coming. The air felt heavy, like the calm before a twister, and Victor's parting words echoed, "We'll find a way." Caleb's jaw clenched, his voice a whisper to the dark. Across the hills, Pineview's lights twinkled, a false promise of harmony, as Caleb's resolve hardened, unaware that the HOA's next move would turn his haven into a battlefield. The Texas night draped the hills in inky shadows, the air thick with the scent of cedar and the faint hum of crickets, as the steel fence around Dr. Caleb Ward's ranch gleamed under a sliver of moon. The gate's heavy padlock mocked him, its Pineview HOA sign a silent taunt. But Caleb's boots stood firm on the 5-by-5-foot parcel he'd just bought, the land holding the key to his freedom. Ranger's low growl echoed his resolve, the hound's ears pricked as headlights flared in the distance. Caleb's pulse quickened, his calloused hand resting on the deed in his pocket. The weight of Amos Reed's cryptic note, "Subsurface rights reserved," burning in his mind. He hadn't stormed Pineview's clubhouse or called the sheriff. He'd played his hand quietly, wiring funds to own not just the gate strip, but the highway access sliver behind it. Now, as Victor Hensley's black SUV roared closer, Caleb's jaw tightened, his voice a low murmur to Ranger. "Here comes round two, boy. Stay sharp." The SUV screeched to a halt, dust swirling like a storm, and Victor leapt out, his polo shirt rumpled, his clipboard abandoned, his face twisted with fury. "You think you're clever, Ward, snatching up this dirt," he spat, jabbing a finger at the gate. Caleb crossed his arms, his tone cool as the night. "Clever's building a cage you can't open, Vic. Why's my ranch locked like I'm the trespasser?" Victor's eyes darted to the padlock, his voice a hiss. "This is Pineview's land now. You're sitting in our territory, and we control the way in." Caleb's laugh was sharp, slicing the darkness. "Territory, this ain't your golf course. You fenced my home, my horses, my trees. Who signed off on that?" Victor stepped closer, his breath hot, his voice low. "The board did what's best for progress. Your ranch is an eyesore, and we're fixin' that." Caleb's eyes narrowed, his voice a blade. "Fixin' it by stealin' my land? That's a bold lie, even for you." A faint rustle broke the standoff. Pineview security golf cart hummed up, two men in navy polo stepping out, one gripping a flashlight that swept over Caleb's boots. "Back off, sir," the taller one said, his voice flat. "This is HOA property." Caleb didn't flinch, his tone mocking. "HOA property. I own this patch, fellas. Check the deed before you play tough." Victor waved him off, his voice urgent. "He's bluffing. Call Lorraine, we need her here." Caleb's grin was cold, his hand pulling the gate key from his pocket, its metal glinting. "No bluff, Vic. This key's mine now, and I'm walking through my gate whenever I damn well please." Victor's face paled, his voice cracking. "You can't just, where'd you get that?" Caleb dangled it, his tone dry. "Came with the land you forgot to lock down. Rookie move." The security man hesitated, their flashlight wavering, as a woman's voice cut through, a sharp, clipped tone from the SUV's open door. "Getcha in story loy kuans, zam getcha in poffinger me." Lorraine Carver, Pineview's lawyer, stepped into the moonlight, her suit pristine, her heels clicking gravel. "Enough, Mr. Ward," she said, her eyes like steel. "You're obstructing our legal boundary. Hand over that key or we'll seize it through court." Caleb's laugh was low, his voice steady. "Seize it? You built this fence without my say-so. court's gonna love hearing that." Lorraine's smile was thin, her voice icy. "Your land's inside our perimeter. We've petitioned to rezone it as community space. You're a guest on Pineview's terms now." Caleb stepped forward, his presence towering, his voice a growl. "Guest, this is my blood and sweat, lady. You don't get to rewrite my deed." Lorraine's smile was thin, her voice icy. "Your land's inside our perimeter. We've petitioned to rezone it as community space. You're a guest on Pineview's terms now." Caleb stepped forward, his presence towering, his voice a growl. "Guest, this is my blood and sweat, lady. You don't get to rewrite my deed." Lorraine's eyes flicked to Victor, her tone sharp. "Handle this quietly, Hensley, or the board will have your head." Victor nodded, his voice desperate. "Ward, take a deal, sell us that strip, name your price." Caleb's eyes darkened, his voice lethal. "My price is my land, free and clear. You don't buy that with your dirty money." A faint buzz overhead broke the tension. A drone, its red light blinking, hovering above the gate. Caleb's hand twitched toward his slingshot, but he held back, his voice low. "Spying on me now? That's how Pineview plays." Lorraine's smile didn't waver, her voice smooth. "We protect our investments. You'd be wise to cooperate." Caleb's fist clenched, his voice a warning. "Keep your toys out of my sky, or they'll come down hard." The drone dipped lower, its hum taunting, until Ranger's bark split the night, startling it into a wobbly ascent. Victor's phone buzzed, and he stepped away, his voice hushed but urgent. "Yeah, we need backup. He's not budging." Caleb overheard, his mind racing, Amos's words echoing. "That strip's more than dirt." He pulled his phone, texting Lila Vance, his fingers flying. "Dig into the subsurface rights, something's big here." Lila's reply was instant. "On it, stay safe, Ward." The night grew heavier, the fence looming like a dare, as Caleb noticed a faint glint near the gate's base, a hidden camera, Pineview's logo etched on its lens. "They're watching every move," he muttered, his voice grim, snapping a photo for proof. Lorraine stepped closer, her voice a velvet threat. "This is bigger than you, Caleb. Pineview's future's at stake. Walk away, or we'll bury you in court." Caleb met her gaze, his voice like thunder. "Bury me? You just locked the wrong man out." The security men shifted, their radios crackling, as Victor barked, "Stand by, we'll handle him." Caleb pocketed the key, his boots planted, his voice low to Ranger. "They're scared, boy. We're just getting started." The stars above burned bright, witnesses to a battle that would soon shake Pineview's empire to its core. As Caleb stood ready, the gate's key, his first weapon in a war he refused to lose. Catch a story low cool. Jump catchin' story photon your matey. The Texas dawn broke in a blaze of orange, casting long shadows across the steel fence that caged Dr. Caleb Ward's ranch, its padlock glinting like a challenge under the rising sun. Caleb stood on his newly bought 5-by-5-foot parcel, the gate key heavy in his pocket, Ranger's tail thumping the dirt as the hum of Pineview Estates sprinkler systems mocked the silence. The air carried the sharp tang of dew and diesel, a reminder of the HOA's relentless push. Caleb's deed to the Gates land and the highway access strip behind it was his ace, but Victor Hensley's parting threat, "We'll handle him," echoed, fueling his resolve. His phone buzzed with Lila Vance's text. "Subsurface rights confirmed. That strip's got oil potential. Pineview's hiding it." Caleb's jaw tightened, his voice a low growl to Ranger. "They didn't just want my land, boy. They're chasing a jackpot." The Saturday morning sun climbed higher as Pineview's clubhouse buzzed with their annual picnic, pastel balloons bobbing over manicured lawns. Caleb loaded his Dodge with a private property sign, its red letters stark, and drove to the gate, dust swirling like a war cry. He stepped out, hammer in hand, and drove the sign into his parcel's dirt, each strike a defiance. Victor charged across the lawn, his khakis flapping, his voice a snarl. "You're making a fool of yourself, Ward. Tear that down." Caleb straightened, his tone ice cold. "Fool's the man who locks out his neighbor, Vic. This land's mine, sign and all." Victor's eyes blazed, his voice low. "You're playing with fire buying this strip. You think a key changes anything?" Caleb pulled the deed from his jacket, holding it up, his voice steady. "Changes everything when it's legal. Your gate's on my dirt now. Wanna borrow the key?" Victor's face twitched, his voice a hiss. "The board's filing to annex your ranch's green space. You're done, Ward." Caleb's laugh was sharp, cutting the air. "Annex my home? You'll need more than a clipboard for that." A crowd of Pineview residents, polo shirts and sundresses, gathered, whispering, phones raised. A woman in pearls muttered, "He's got guts." Her husband nodded, filming. Lorraine Carver's SUV rolled up, her heels clicking as she emerged, a manila folder in hand. "Mr. Ward, you're violating our zoning petition," she said, her voice crisp. "Your ranch is within our secured perimeter, community property." Caleb stepped closer, his eyes locked on hers, his voice a blade. "Community? You mean your private empire? My deed says this is my ranch, not your park." Lorraine's smile was thin, her tone venomous. "The county's reviewing our claim. You'll be a tenant soon enough." Caleb's fists clenched, his voice thunder. "Tenant? I bled for this land. You don't rewrite my life with a pen." Victor smirked, his voice taunting. "Sell the strip, Caleb. Take the cash and walk away." Caleb's grin was cold, his voice lethal. "Cash don't buy freedom, Vic. You'll learn that the hard way." A rustle near the gate drew Caleb's eye. A young woman, Ellie Ruiz, a Pineview intern, lingered, her face pale, clutching a notebook. She caught Caleb's gaze, her voice a whisper. "They're lying, Mr. Ward. It's not just the gate." Caleb's heart raced, his voice low. "What's bigger, Ellie?" She glanced at Victor, her voice trembling. "Meet me at the diner tonight. I'll explain." She slipped away as Lorraine snapped. "Enough stalling, Ward. Vacate this parcel or we'll sue." Caleb dangled the key, his tone mocking. "Sue me, but you'll need this to get through. Good luck." Victor lunged forward, his voice a snarl. "You're a dead end, Ward." Caleb didn't flinch, his voice steady. "Dead end's your plan, Vic. I'm just getting started." The crowd's murmurs grew. A man in a golf hat whispered, "He's not backing down." Pineview's security cart hummed up, two men stepping out, one gripping a radio. "Sir, step back," he said, his voice flat. Caleb's eyes darkened, his voice a warning. "Step on my land and you'll answer to more than your boss." Lorraine waved him off, her voice sharp. "Stand down, we'll handle this legally." She turned to Caleb, her eyes glinting. "You're a small man in a big game, Ward. Pineview always wins." Caleb's laugh was low, his voice resonant. "Big game? You just locked the wrong player out." That evening, Caleb met Ellie at the diner, its neon sign buzzing. She slid a flash drive across the table, her voice hushed. "Pineview's board wants your land for a resort. The strip you bought, it's the only access to an oil vein they're hiding." Caleb's breath caught, his voice urgent. "Oil? They knew." Ellie nodded, her eyes wide. "They've got investors waiting. Victor's in deep with them." Caleb pocketed the drive, his voice grim. "You're risking a lot, Ellie. Why?" Her voice cracked, her eyes fierce. "My dad lost his farm to vultures like them. You're fighting for what's right." Caleb nodded, his voice warm. "You're braver than they are. Stay safe." Outside, the night deepened, the stars hidden. as Caleb drove home, the flash drive a grenade in his pocket, the fence around his ranch no longer just a barrier, but a symbol of a war he was ready to win. Kelchian, Story Lo Coons, John Kelchian Photon Gurimi. The Texas sun blazed high, scorching the earth around Dr. Caleb Ward's ranch, where the steel fence loomed like a scar across the rolling hills, its gates padlock a silent dare. Caleb stood on his 5-by-5-foot parcel, the key in his pocket a hard-won trophy. Ranger's ears pricked as the distant hum of Pineview Estates golf carts signaled trouble brewing. The air was thick with cedar and tension, Ellie Ruiz's flash drive burning in Caleb's mind. Proof Pineview's board coveted his land for a resort, banking on an oil vein beneath his newly bought strip. Victor Hensley's threat, "Pineview always wins," rang hollow now, but Caleb's jaw was set, his voice a low murmur to Ranger. "They're playing dirty, boy, but we're about to flip the board." The ranch's live oak swayed, their shadows dancing, as Caleb's phone buzzed with a text from Lila Vance. "Oil veins real, surveyor's report buried by Pineview's developer. Watch your back." His pulse quickened, the stakes no longer just his land, but a fortune Pineview would kill to claim. That morning, Caleb drove to the gate, his Dodge kicking up dust, a new "no trespassing" sign under his arm. He hammered it deeper into his parcel, each strike a vow, when a black SUV roared up, brakes screeching. Lorraine Carver stepped out, her suit crisp despite the heat, a thick folder in hand, flanked by Victor, his face red with rage. "You're pushing too far, Ward," Victor snarled, jabbing a finger. "That sign's coming down, and so's your little rebellion." Caleb leaned on his truck, his tone dry as the dirt. "Rebellion? I'm protecting what's mine, Vic. You built this cage, not me." Lorraine's eyes were flint, her voice sharp. "You're obstructing a county-approved development, Caleb. Your strip's in our way, and we'll take it legally." Caleb's laugh was cold, his voice steady. "Legally? Like your fake green space claim? My deed's ironclad, Lorraine. Try again." She opened the folder, pulling a map, her finger tapping a highlighted line. "This shows your ranch inside our rezoned perimeter. You're a squatter on Pineview's future." Caleb's eyes darkened, his voice a blade. "Squatter? This is my blood, my home. You don't erase that with a marker." Victor smirked, his voice taunting. "Sell the strip, Ward. We'll pay double. Don't make this ugly." Caleb stepped closer, his presence towering, his voice thunder. "Ugly's what you started, Vic. My land ain't for sale, and neither's my fight." A crowd of Pineview residents, khakis and sundresses, gathered, phones filming, a man in a golf hat whispering, "He's not scared." Lorraine's smile was venomous, her voice low. "You're a small man against a machine, Caleb. We'll crush you." Caleb dangled the key, his tone mocking. "Crush me? You'll need this first. Good luck breaking in." That night, Caleb's drone buzzed over the fence, its camera catching 3 men in hoodies digging a trench on Pineview's side, blueprints for a new gate glowing under a flashlight. Caleb recorded it, his voice sharp through the dark. "Planning a sneak attack, boys." One dropped a shovel, a walkie-talkie crackling. "Abort, he's onto us." They fled, but Caleb's footage was gold, sent to Lila with a note. "They're desperate." By dawn, Lila called, her voice urgent. "The trench is for a bypass road. Pineview's developer Grayson Corp is bankrolling it. Ellie's drive has emails. Victor's tied to Grayson's CEO." Caleb's fists clenched, his voice grim. "So, it's not just HOA, it's a corporate land grab." Lila paused, her tone heavy. "There's more. Amos found a second clause in your deed. Your strip holds water rights too. They need it for their resort's pipeline." Caleb's breath caught, his voice fierce. "Water and oil? I'm holding their damn lifeline." That afternoon, a bulldozer rumbled toward his barn, a driver waving a permit. "County orders," he shouted, his voice muffled by the roar. Caleb blocked its path, his voice booming. "That's a lie, and stop." Sheriff Amos Tate's squad car screeched up, lights flashing, his voice cutting through. "Who signed this paper?" The driver handed over a forged permit, Tate's eyes narrowing as he scanned it. "This seal's fake. You're done here." He turned to Caleb, his voice low. "Pineview's gone rogue, Ward. I'm impounding this rig, but they'll hit harder." Caleb nodded, his voice steady. "I'm ready, Amos." That evening, Ellie slipped Caleb a burner phone at the diner, her voice trembling. "They know I leaked the drive. Grayson's got dirt on Victor, gambling debts. He's their puppet." Caleb's eyes softened, his voice warm. "You're brave, Ellie. Hide low, I'll protect you." She shook her head, her voice fierce. "Expose them, Caleb, from my dad's farm, for your ranch." Caleb pocketed the phone, his voice grim. "I will." At midnight, Caleb's barn cameras caught two men splashing gasoline on hay bales, lighters in hand. Ranger's barks alerted him, and he called 911, his voice urgent. "Intruders, my barn." Deputies arrived, but the men were gone, leaving a Pineview logoed cap. Tate reviewed the footage, his voice hard. "They wanted a fire to ruin you, Caleb. This is war." By morning, Caleb nailed the cap to his gate with a sign, "Keep trying, I'm watching." Pineview's residents buzzed, a woman in pearls whispering, "They're criminals." Caleb sent the barn footage to reporter Tara Holt, whose voice crackled through his phone. "This is dynamite, Ward, ongoing live tonight." At 6 p.m., her segment aired, Pineview's dirty land grab, showing the trench, bulldozer, and barn sabotage. Views hit 1 million, hashtags like #FreeCaleb trending. Pineview's office phones jammed, their social media dark. Victor's SUV rolled up at dusk, his voice a snarl. "You're ruining us, Ward. Call off your dogs." Caleb leaned on the gate, his tone cold. "Dogs? You sent thugs to burn my barn, Vic. You're ruining yourself." Lorraine emerged, her voice desperate. "Settle this, Caleb. Grayson's offering $1 million for the strip." Caleb's laugh was low, lethal. $1 million? My land's worth more than your lies. Walk away." Lorraine's eyes flashed, her voice a hiss. "You'll regret this." Caleb dangled the key, his voice resonant. "Regrets for those who lose, Lorraine. I'm just warming up." The crowd cheered, a man in a golf hat yelling, "Give 'em hell, Ward." As Pineview's SUV retreated, Caleb stood tall, the fence no longer a cage, but a battlefield, where he held the high ground, ready to strike at the heart of their empire. Catch a story low coons. Junk Caleb Ward's ranch in a glow that softened the steel fence's harsh lines, its gate now a symbol of defiance rather than defeat. Caleb sat at table 2, his emerald dress catching the candlelight, his posture a testament to unyielding dignity. Nathan Brooks sat beside her, his navy suit a quiet anchor, his hand resting near hers in unspoken solidarity. The crowd, guests in silk scarves and linen blazers, murmured softly, their phones still buzzing with videos of the confrontation that had exposed manager Simon Caldwell and Charlotte Pierce's corruption. The air, once heavy with saffron and champagne, now carried a new scent, accountability. Malik, the server who'd revealed the damning evidence, stood by the kitchen doors, his eyes bright with pride, while Tara, his colleague, clutched her notepad, whispering, "It's really happening." Elise's voice broke the stillness, low but resonant. "This table feels different now, not just mine, but ours." Nathan nodded, his voice steady. "It's more than a seat, it's a line we've redrawn." He glanced at Rachel, the assistant manager, who hovered near the bar, her tablet glowing with the spreadsheet that had unraveled Simon's scheme. "Rachel, get the board on the line. We're not waiting for 7:30. Rachel's eyes widened, but she nodded, her voice firm. "Yes, sir, I'll set up the call." A man in a sequin jacket whispered to his companion, "He's moving fast. This place won't be the same." His companion nodded, filming discreetly, the moment spreading like wildfire online. Inside the kitchen, the staff buzzed. Chefs paused mid-chop. Servers exchanged glances, one murmuring, "They're cleaning house." Malik approached Elise, his voice low. "I kept those records for months, hoping someone would care. You made it matter." Elise's eyes softened, her voice warm. "You took the risk, Malik. That's what changes things." Outside, the city pulsed, unaware that Vivre Blanc's polished facade was crumbling. By 6:45 p.m., Nathan's call with the board was underway in a private room, its frosted glass doors shielding a reckoning. Elise chose to stay at table 2, her presence a statement to the dining room. A young woman in a velvet dress approached, her voice trembling. "I saw what happened. I'm sorry I didn't speak up." Elise met her gaze, her tone gentle but firm. "You're speaking now. That's enough." The woman nodded, returning to her table, her phone open to a post captioned, #VivreBlanc-Truth. The hashtags multiplied, stories flooding in, guests recounting similar slights, their voices amplified by Elise's stand. A man in a linen blazer stood, raising his glass. "To courage," he said, his voice carrying. Others joined, a ripple of clinks echoing, a rare moment of unity in a room built on division. Rachel emerged, her face tense but resolute. The boards agreed to immediate action. Simon's out, and they're auditing all reservations. Elise's brow lifted, her voice sharp. "And Charlotte? She didn't just take tables, she funded this." Rachel hesitated, then nodded. "Nathan's pushing for a full investigation. Her family's already calling to negotiate." Elise's laugh was low, cutting. "Negotiate? They don't get to buy their way out of this." Nathan returned, his expression unreadable, but his voice carried weight. "They won't. The board's frozen her accounts pending review. This goes deeper than we thought." Elise's eyes narrowed, her voice urgent. "Deeper how?" Nathan leaned in, his voice low. "Charlotte's been funneling funds through Simon to secure tables for her investors. It's a network, Elise, and we just cracked it open." The crowd's murmurs grew. A woman in pearls gasped, whispering, "It's a scandal." Malik overheard, his voice fierce as he spoke to Tara. "This is bigger than Vivre Blanc. They've been playing this game everywhere." Tara nodded, her eyes blazing. "We need to tell the others." By 8 p.m., news broke online. A whistleblower from another luxury restaurant cited Vivre Blanc's fallout, exposing similar schemes. Elise's phone buzzed with a message from a colleague. "Your story's shaking the industry. Keep going." She set it down, her voice steady. "We're not done, Nathan. This can't just be one night." He nodded, his hand brushing hers. "It's not. I'm rolling out reforms. AI tracking, anonymous reporting, equity boards. No one gets erased again." A week later, Vivre Blanc's doors reopened under a new rhythm. The reservation desk now featured a digital kiosk, each booking encrypted, each change logged transparently. Maya, a new hostess with natural curls and a gold-embroidered blazer, greeted guests with unapologetic warmth. "Welcome," she said to a black couple, her voice genuine. "Your table's ready." The dining room felt different. No hidden corners, lighting intimate but inclusive. The menu honored unsung voices, each dish named for communities whose contributions had shaped the city. Elise returned that Friday, her ivory silk dress catching the light, Nathan beside her in slate gray. Malik, now director of guest experience, greeted them, his eyes sparkling with pride. "The best seat in the house," he said, his voice proud. Elise smiled, her tone warm. "Thanks, Malik, you're making this place feel like home." He grinned, nodding. "That's the goal." Table 2, framed by candlelight, bore a small plaque. Dr. Harper's table, where truth took root. Elise sat, her targeted traces the table's edge, her voice soft. I thought I'd feel heavy coming back. Nathan's gaze met hers, his tone fierce. You turned a cage into a legacy, Elise. This is yours. Elise nodded, her voice resolute. It's ours, everyone's who dared to speak. A server, Natalie, approached, her smile warm. Tonight's specials honor trailblazers like you, Dr. Harper, chef's tribute. Elise's lips curved, her tone wry. Trailblazer, I just wanted dinner. Natalie laughed, her eyes bright. You changed what dinner means here. The crowd watched, respect in their eyes. A couple nearby nodded, she's unstoppable. Elise's blog, The Price of Presence, had ignited a movement, sparking protests outside luxury venues, demanding fairness. A congresswoman cited it, quoting, "Exclusion's a smile hides a wound, but truth heals it." Malik returned, placing a framed reservation slip on the table, time-stamped, preserved. "This is your proof," he said, his voice thick. Elise touched the glass, her voice steady. "Proof we stood firm." The Nathan raised his glass, his tone unwavering. "To those who fought before, and those who will never fight again." Their toast rang out, a promise sealed in the room's new heart. As laughter filled the space, the city outside hummed, learning from a woman who refused to vanish. Elise leaned back, her voice reflective. Started with a table, ended with a world that sees us. Caleb Ward's battle against Pineview HOA reveals that resilience and truth can dismantle even the most insidious systems of greed. His refusal to surrender his ranch, despite being fenced out and targeted by corporate schemes, shows the power of standing firm for one's rights. The support from Ellie, Lila, and Sheriff Tate underscores that justice thrives through collective courage, exposing Pineview's oil-driven land grab. Caleb's strategic acquisition of the Gates land and his creation of Liberty Grounds teach us that ingenuity can turn oppression into opportunity, transforming a personal fight into a community triumph. The story challenges us to confront injustice head-on, whether it's a locked gate or systemic exclusion, and to build spaces where fairness reigns. Caleb's victory proves that when greed builds walls, determination finds the key, inspiring us to protect our own ranch with unwavering resolve. His legacy calls us to amplify the silenced, question authority, and create change that echoes beyond one fight. For more electrifying tales of grit, justice, and triumph that spark reflection and action, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Join us to uncover stories that empower, challenge, and redefine what it means to stand tall against the odds.